Twitch is broken. I forgot to
Uh,
tell you about that.
yeah.
What?
What's
Is
bad
there?
is me, I think, because I ended the stream, booted it back up because I thought we weren't live, but we are.
It's fine with
I
me.
see.
I
Okay.
got no secrets.
I see games a plan.
Yeah. So, hmm, that's weird. Well, that means that your whole speech about pooping in people's shoes and everything, that's gonna be lost to history now.
Ah,
That's all
it's
right. You've
for the
just given a
best.
very succinct recap.
Pooping in shoes, not going to physical stores. Man.
Yeah.
So everyone is going to have to, what's their name? Refresh.
Yeah. I think I will shoot. Yep.
Yep. So yeah, this is the Weaponographist by Puuba, and today I have with me Danny and Dave for Puuba. How you guys doing?
Doing great. What's going on, Nelson? Hello, internet.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
So second person to speak is Dave. First person to speak is Danny, because if you ask what fit came first, Danny or Dave, Danny or the egg, it was Dave came first, but through a time warp, he became his own
Wait.
grandfather and gave birth to Danny, who then became Dave's dad.
No, I disagree. The egg has to have come first. There has
Can
to have
I
been.
not be the egg though? Because I hate eggs. I don't like to be around
That's
them or to
true.
smell them.
That's true.
Eggs are like kryptonite for me. If I have a kryptonite, it's eggs and fish and social interactions and most of the
Bugs,
other things in the world.
weather.
Weather is How is the weather over there?
It's
On
93 today, so I refuse to go outside.
That is the only reason that we ate at home today. Did refuse to go out, but no, it's nice out. It's sunny out and it's clear blue skies.
That is indeed very nice. And the
Perfect hammock weather.
hammock weather. Do you guys? Can indies even afford hammocks? Is that a thing? Can that be counted out as a business expense?
If you program from your hammock, it's technically tax deductible, but they will come sit in the hammock with you and make sure that you're programming.
Man. So right now we're seeing your wonderful gameplay for the Weaponographist, since I don't play games with magic. So
Yeah,
I'm a weirdo. So you
it's all right.
graciously recorded yourself playing your own game. How does it feel to be on the other end of the stick, as it were, to be playing the game yourself? Even
It's
after,
nice. I know what's going to happen. I know the future right now. I am living a full 90 minutes in the future, looking back on all of you knowingly.
You remember that one time when you had the ring of fire and then you stood there for a minute and then you walked in that cave entrance?
Yeah, I should never have let that ring go in the volcano.
did someone bite off your finger, or did you put it in willingly?
No, that was all made up after the fact. I mean, this true story is a lot simpler than that guy eventually wrote it up. He took my interview totally out of context. It was really like we took the car, we went to Mount Doom, we stopped for a picnic, and we chucked the ring in the mountain. It's true that that ring
So
was incredibly powerful and
so
would have doomed us all.
so the Great Eagles were actually just a bunch of Chevys.
Right, exactly. It was just a big old road trip. We stopped at a Denny's. It was really nice.
So, for the uninitiated who are just listening to this amazing chatter, this is the Weaponographist. So, since you've spent a lot more time explaining this than me, what is the Weaponographist?
I'll take this. The Weaponographist is a game about legendary, world-famous demon hunter Doug McGrave. He is a master of every weapon and a total jerk butt. And so Doug McGrave is very deservedly cursed. And the nature of that curse is such that all of the weapons he picks up, all of the gear that he finds throughout the dungeon, are going to very quickly shatter and be destroyed in his hands. So you can see right now in the game, I'm running around killing these enemies and using the sword right now. But you can see that meter in the bottom left corner. It's my durability. And every time I shoot an arrow or hit someone with the sword, the durability is getting quickly lesser and lesser. And eventually my weapon's going to shatter. But on the bright side, all of the enemies that I'm fighting tend to drop the weapon they're using. So it's all about quickly adapting from one weapon to the next, sprinting over to pick up the next thing that drops, just making use of it as you can.
And actually, it's interesting because your first game was, or actually is, Concursion, and people can buy it on Steam now. And the thing about Concursion is that, yeah, it was totally different. It was a fusion of like 5 different games in one, and they seamlessly intermix. So in one, a platformer world, you'd do a double jump so that you could go into Shinobi World and get to a certain point so you could slash someone. It was just very weird and trippy.
Yeah.
And it actually was, considering it was your first title too, it was received pretty well. And now you came to this, and people are just going absolutely nuts for it. You have big streaming groups taking it on and everything. Like, how does it feel? And how did you get the concept for the second game? How did you know that like this was going to be your next thing that you wanted to invest so much time into?
I think a lot of what we build comes out of stuff that we want to play. I have an answer to that, but Dave, what are you thinking?
I think that whatever the main similarity between Concursion and the Weaponographist and the driving force behind the Weaponographist is that Danny doesn't like to relax or be calm.
No.
He needs lots of things to be complicated and kind of flying at you all the time. So that's actually where we came from when we started Weaponographist. We said, how do we make a game where you literally like are penalized for standing still, where you cannot relax, you have to keep going. So we just kind of built it from there.
So it's
Yeah.
based on your own lives.
It is.
Yeah,
Well,
in a way, yeah.
So yeah, one of the key things I wanted to capture in this game, and that we came at it from a design point of view, was how do we keep people constantly engaged, not give them a break, make it feel like you have to race, go as fast as you can, never slow down. And so we talked about the weapons shattering, but the flip side of the curse in this game is that red meter you see in the bottom right corner is Doug McGrave's combo meter. And quickly, the way it works is every time I'm killing an enemy, I'm gaining a little bit of that red combo, but that meter's always draining. And it doesn't matter how much combo I have, as long as that meter's not empty. If the combo meter ever gets empty, then the meter below it you see that has I'm currently level 2, my experience is going to drain instead, which makes the whole game harder. So basically every room's a little bit tougher than the last, the enemies have a little bit more hit points, but if I can level alongside them, I can start doing more damage, and I kind of keep up. So basically, the faster I go, if I can full combo a whole level, I actually out-level the enemies, and the whole game gets a little bit easier. If I get too defensive or back off or slow down and lose my combo, all the enemies get harder, and the whole game gets tougher. So trying to capture that like no pause, no slow down, don't take a breath engagement was really the first thing we came to.
Man, that's awesome. And looks like that curse got the best of you, eh? Let's talk about that real quick. So you just died, and you revived back in town. Like, if I like buy the season pass, can I do that in real life? If I like die, just like revive back in my hometown?
Yeah, but you don't get to pick the town. It's a different town every time. You might wake up in Los Angeles. You might wake up in the desert. It can really be anywhere.
Irkutsk.
I'd rather be in Hillside.
Yes. I wouldn't go to Hellside until Doug finishes his job.
This is so the town is literally known as Hellside. Who decided to live there?
That was pure coincidence, you know. It was just a beautiful name. It was one of those words like cellar door that just rolls off the lips, and it just so happened there was a dungeon.
Yeah, there just happened to be a dungeon there.
So, I should quickly describe what's happening now. So basically, it's been described as a roguelike. I don't quite use the term for it because there is a permanent progression. The way it works is you're going to get in there, you're going to bash up your weapons, shatter things, get as far as you can, and you will almost inevitably at some point die. But when you come back, all of that goop you've been collecting off the floor, the green and the blue globs, that works as currency that you can spend in the town for permanent upgrades. You can train with your weapons to hit harder. You can slow down that combo meter, slow down your curse to give yourself effectively a higher max level, run faster, more health, more durability, all sorts of things. And every time you beat a new boss, you're going to unlock higher caps and even more variety of upgrades that you can buy. So,
cool.
Yeah, the basic flow of the game is rampage through the dungeon, hit a checkpoint, save your progress if you can at a checkpoint, make some upgrades, and either strategically decide to use your checkpoint and resume, or start back at the top and rage back through again.
So we're seeing Bartholomew Bard Cakes. We're seeing Cummerbund Rose Patch. John Smith. It's weird to see a John Smith in the midst of a Cummerbund Rose Patch.
His name is
John
in
Smith
quotes.
is in quotes. 'Cause it's an assumed name. One can only imagine his real name is much longer, but he had to change it for legal reasons.
I figured he's got some kind of rap following him, some kind of legal rap he's probably trying to outrun.
Or he's like, he's like Han Solo. He's named something so famous that you couldn't put it in words because, of course, you didn't name him. He named
Right.
himself.
Exactly. Well,
At
maybe his
birth.
birth name is like Drew Barrymore, and he doesn't want to be confused.
Yes.
She also named herself at birth. I think that's how that works.
Yeah, she was actually born John Smith.
Oh, so they switched names.
Mm-hmm. I don't think either of them know that.
So I want to address something you asked actually earlier was how does it feel to get so much love from streaming communities? And it's awesome. I've spent the last week and a half in Twitch literally all day and night instead of sleeping and just making lots and lots of new buddies.
So,
And some
so,
of them are our biggest supporters right now.
so what you've basically done is like um, oh, you guys still there? Have a break in the call.
Are you not there?
Oh,
I'm here.
there was there was like a pause. I think the connection broke out for a second.
Oh.
There was a disturbance in the force.
There was.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
But yeah, as for I'm you guys just released the game today, so I'm imagining that you're just spending 24/7 just looking at every mention of the Weaponographist on the internet.
We are using all of the Googles and Jeeveses that there are to just ego search all day right now. It's horrible.
And I've been watching everyone play it like for hours.
How does
Yeah.
I think that's probably not healthy.
especially being a roguelike and not just a platformer as your previous game that as good as it was and as unique as it was, it was a platformer with linear levels. Now having a roguelike where things can change, is it more entertaining to see the game played over and over again? Do you ever get the temptation like you're playing it wrong, or do you see some really interesting strategies emerging?
It's definitely the latter for me. I think it's really cool seeing people approach, the game in different ways that we didn't expect or didn't plan for. Good example is no two people ever seem to have the same favorite weapon. If you ask anybody who's been streaming it or anybody we dropped in on what their favorite weapon is, each person hates the last person's favorite weapon and loves something entirely different. And so we've seen people try to do like all whip runs where they try to make a whip last the entire dungeon, all fist runs, people swinging the mace around, stuff like that, and just really handling the bosses very differently. It's fun to see. Concursion had a lot of creativity in the way that you would like execute each particular level. Jupiter likes the gun, so yeah, it's fun. That I really like that no two people like the same favorite one. For me, that makes me feel good about how we balance the weapons.
That's awesome. So you made it to where every person can have their own particular special weapon.
And we built it with each of the players in mind. So we can only have as many players as we have weapons, just so it's clear. We're going to sell out after that.
So how does one go about balancing? Like, was it difficult making sure that no one thing was too powerful, especially with a game that, as a gamer, you have to admit you like feeling powerful whenever you get into a game or have an experience, especially if it's meant to be a power fantasy.
Yeah, sometimes you want to be overpowered. It's not. Sometimes you want everything balanced, and sometimes you just want to feel like a monster.
So is the key to make everything overpowered?
From weapon to weapon, we really tried to make all of the weapons really comparable. So, like, a lot of them work really differently. Like, the Wyvern's head basically works as a flamethrower and does damage over time, whereas the sword is a 3-hit combo, and the machine gun is a rapid-fire projectile. And so we try to kind of balance the difficulty or risk of use with the damage. So if it's something you can sit back easily like a machine gun, maybe it doesn't do quite as much DPS as our Warhammer, where you really have to get in there and it slows down your motion. But we also definitely wanted to capture those moments of like I'm doing awesome and I'm starting to just rage through. And for me, that was a big part of that, the combo system. Like, because of the combo system, the faster you go, the stronger you get. As you start to level up your weapons in town, you can start to really, keep a full combo through 5 rooms or 10 rooms or 15 rooms. And at that point, you are going to start using the stronger weapons to just one-shot enemies. And you really start to, like, get into a rhythm and a flow.
Was it a lot of the common things is that a lot of gaming and game development is very iterative. With that word, that means that things get better.
Iterative.
Yeah.
No,
Let's go.
itinerant. I think you're looking for itinerant.
Do you need an itinerary?
I'd like an itinerary. I wish I had an itinerary.
I'm not going anywhere. It just leads home.
Actually, speaking of getting off of that, you guys actually are. I'm kind of tripping out here because a lot of people, their passion is to travel, and a lot of people think of game developers as just sitting in their homes, but you guys actually you guys met Jupiter, who was in the chat, as at EGX Res, and she actually asked how was showcasing your game at Res. You know, you actually went to London, and that's huge. That's a fantastic, amazing place. Did you ever dream that you liking games and eventually making them would lead to you being in London and uh, showing your game off to the world?
I definitely did not ever think it would lead to that, but I'm super happy that it has. Uh, I mean, yeah, all the shows, Res really especially, have been tons of fun. Meeting tons of people, keeping in contact, just playing a ton of games. Like, in fact, I didn't get a ton of time to walk away from our booth at any of the shows and play anything else. But meeting all the devs and meeting all the players is really fun. Like a lot of the tweaks that we've made in the last month before release are really based on the feedback we got at the conventions. Ranging from simple things like you can see right now whenever I get hit, that like red glow around the screen is feedback driven, to the way that some of the weapons work we completely remodeled, to the way that hardcore works was super remodeled.
I'm not even
And so,
playing the game, and I just love the way the bow works.
thanks. But yeah, last month was crazy. We did 3 conventions in 2 weeks. We did PAX East in Boston, Dave and I together, and then we parted ways, and Dave did South by Southwest while I went to Res. It was crazy. But so yeah, short answer, Res was super fun. I loved like seeing people play the game and enjoy it, and just chatting with everyone.
Wow. So when you're seeing someone at Res, like, does it feel like you're exposing yourself? Like, It's not ready. It's not finished. Oh, this could be better. Oh dear Lord, no, you hit a bug. Oh,
I think
game
I'll
crashed.
always feel that way.
But
Just
we were
always.
really solid before the conventions this time. Like, I don't know how it was. I didn't go to London last year for Concursion, but the build that we went to conventions with was really solid. So that didn't happen a lot. I don't
Yeah,
think there was
Bugwise we were
anybody who
pretty
got to
clean.
an impasse.
It's what? It's funny. For the last bunch of weeks, we've been saying every day, bug-wise, we're clean. There are no bugs. We are ready to release. And then I'm such an impatient butt, and I hate waiting, that I would just repeatedly remodel how something works. And like I said, a lot of it was based on convention feedback, which was awesome, really, really useful. But a lot of it was just like nitpicks of my own, where it's like everything works perfectly, and also let's tear up everything, and like just changing how the boomerang works, or changing how special effects work, or changing how hardcore works.
I know that's a common thing with developers. I think even Indie Gamer Chick has spoken about it. The post-release patch blitz, where you just like, oh my gosh, I got one negative Steam review. Just fix everything,
Yeah.
make it better, get good, make it good. Did you get a little bit of that this time, even though this isn't your first rodeo?
For Concursion, our first game, definitely had a bit more like immediate shock panic when somebody had something bad to say. Even down to the point where like a good review with a negative comment like 7 out of 10, great, except for this, and be like, except for something. And God, I'm trying to think. We made some giant change like 2 days after release for Concursion. And it like just wasn't super necessary. It was really silly.
What was the
Um,
change?
I can't remember. I know one of them was like users wouldn't notice. It was just a graphic technical issue. But it was something to do with checkpoints, Dave, showing how time works or something. I don't remember.
I actually do have something in mind, and it was pretty critical. It was a leaderboard issue.
Oh, there was that. Yeah, we didn't plan for international names on the leaderboard, and when it happened, the font didn't support it, and then we had to really quickly patch leaderboards.
Wow.
But we learned our lesson from the first time, and we had to do it yesterday for Weaponographist as well. Danny's really like pooping himself because he didn't want me to share that.
No, that's fine. We got the bugs. We have in the past had bugs.
Yeah. No, but
We probably still do. We just don't know what they are.
Yeah.
They're subtle now.
No,
Insidious.
this is a solid build. I'm very confident in this build.
What did you build with Weaponographist and Concursion in?
Both Concursion and the Weaponographist are built in Java, actually. They're built in Java in an in-house, just custom framework that I built.
So it's a Minecraft clone, because it's built in
Yeah,
Java.
it uses lightweight Java GL, same as Minecraft, as an OpenGL wrapper.
Yeah, so
Mhm. This
disappointed.
game
I
basically
thought
is
that
Minecraft.
I thought it was creative, and turns out it's just Minecraft. It was Minecraft
If
all along.
if you cut up the demons just right, you can make cubes out of them, and then the whole game just shifts into like a third 3D voxel sort of view.
Oh my gosh, I love talking to you guys because every time we just gold. Everything is gold and blue. And is the dress white or gold or black or blue? What's your position on that?
Oh, it's I changed halfway through, but I'm going blue.
When I was wearing it, it was white and gold, but when I was done with it, it was blue and black for some reason.
Yep.
What about when you were done wearing it?
Yeah,
Was it like
just blue
covered in
black.
blood or
What?
what?
Speaking of, you and Dave work together. Dave actually works with you in your house. So,
He
what
does.
is it like developing a game together? Do you guys ever have disagreements as to how something should be designed? Are you
Oh,
guys like,
definitely.
oh, you know, you could take control of the art department, I have the programming department, as two guys? Or, yeah, how does that work, and what's the dynamic like?
Well, I'm the head of security. It's really important.
That's very true.
I have to kill the bugs, like the actual physical insects that we find. So that's my main role, is
Even
that I
e-
just
even
squash bugs.
even though it's Danny's house.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what he does when I'm not here.
It's
No,
nobody should know.
we do argue a lot actually, and it usually comes out of like a love for the product. So we try to be patient with each other, but um, we have sticking points, and it's like, all right, well, we'll just say that again tomorrow.
We
But
do.
ultimately, Danny always wins because it's his company, and I
Well,
support all of his decisions, even though I some disagree with some stuff just because I don't want to lose an argument, but not because I'm right, just because I don't like losing arguments.
Is that a thing? Like, game developers are just like the rest of us. They don't like losing arguments.
I think that's probably everyone. Jupiter asks, is it a battle of who is loudest? I probably am loudest, yeah. I
I,
I feel like it's
but
not easy to be a lot louder than me.
but you know what? It's the quiet ones that are dangerous. Like always scares me because I'm like wondering like what is going on in that brain of his.
Yeah, could be anything.
Could be anything.
It could.
He could be plotting against me right now as I interview him.
He could be thinking about kitties.
He could.
Yeah,
He's probably thinking
you're
about
never
kitties.
gonna know. Never gonna know what's going on in here, but it's beautiful.
Oh man, it's dark and twisted.
So I love that death animation. Who made that? That is amazing. It looks like he's doing a short tap dance before his death.
Russell Jameson made that one, didn't he?
Indeed. Yes, he did.
Speaking of,
One of our very talented artists that we worked with.
so Dave and Danny, what positions do you guys hold at Puuba, the giant mega corporation that is two dudes in a guy's house?
Puuba Industrial Industriated. Puuba Industries Industrial Industriated.
I'm the
That's
head
what
of
I wanted to call it
security.
at first. Well, for real though, I am the programmer and I guess the primary game designer. Dave does all of our QC, 100% of the QC, and all of the sound effects, and we co-write everything together. We work with a gent named Christopher Hoag, who does all of the original soundtrack. He is super talented and amazing, and we do not deserve him. And then the rudest way I can possibly list our artists is in list format, but I'm going to do that. Ian and Drew and Nick and Russell and David and Mike and Joseph
And
uh,
Ashley
and Ashley
and
and
Ray.
yeah, I was gonna say and Ray, but yeah, we basically had hooked up. We met a gent named David Logan, who we very almost worked with on the past on Concursion, and he is a very well-connected man, and he worked as our producer, and then also introduced us to a lot of just really awesome local LA area artists.
What is the role of a producer in at least your experience?
Probably pretty unorthodox in our situation. Typically, I'd say it's for a small team like this, it's kind of a hybrid of project manager, asset manager, vendor slash team management. But of course, like I am a control freak and also, I guess, head of the studio, blah 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 blah. And so I'm involved in everything. I'm a pain in the ass. I don't say that as like a positive. I'm involved in everything. I'm a pain in the ass. And so his role was definitely talent scout was huge. He helped us manage the schedule for all the artists. He helped us meet all of our art and animation milestones, things like that. It helped, play a role in guiding the final design and things like that.
This dinosaur barfs demons
He
and
does.
has laser cannons on his back. I want him as a pet. like right now. I want him for LA traffic,
He'd break free.
which you went through
It
yesterday,
seems
Dave.
it seems like you want him as a pet, but he would definitely eat you and throw up on you at the same time.
He would eat you and throw you up. You'd be free to go.
And yes, LA traffic is the bane of my existence. Because Danny just wakes up and he's at work, but I
My
have
commute
to
is really easy.
do it.
Do you
Yeah.
ever find yourself like playing hooky from work?
Like, not hooky. Sometimes I ask if I can work from home because
No,
I don't want to drive here.
I was
'cause it's
asking more.
awful.
I was asking more for Danny. Like, do you ever
Oh,
like
oh.
play
Oh,
hooky?
I've worked as a hooker, yeah.
How can you play hooky when I show up at your house? He
Yeah, I
played
know.
hooky today, actually. He played
I did a little bit.
some other game for like an hour.
I did. I played another game for like an hour, and then I actually, Dave, you didn't see, but I played like 3 or 4 depths of our game on a hardcore, and then quit out before I entered the score to the leaderboard.
Oh, thank God.
Do I? No, yeah. Like Dave said, I can't really play hooky. Dave shows up at my house, like it or not. Like we start promptly at 10-ish a.m.
Yeah,
and
I have trouble getting here on time.
sometimes I'm still emerging from the shower.
Sometimes I get here and I have to ask him to put a shirt on and shoes, and he just doesn't want to. And it's weird.
It's true.
So when you're dealing with professional disagreements like that, like do you have an HR department that you're like, okay, Danny keeps not wearing a shirt. Can you take care of that?
Thing is that the HR department actually is Danny, like officially. Like even back to my first day working here, he's like, okay, we need to have a serious conversation, and it's only
Yeah.
gonna last 5 minutes. I am the HR department, and you must understand that I'm gonna make jokes about. I'm gonna skip this part because I guess we can't say any of it.
Well, no,
public
I'm
air.
feeling just a little bit like
Poo poo and pee pee and so
you're not allowed to like be vulgar at work, especially if you're the employer. And
Right.
but like we were gonna do dev diaries and stuff, and I thought it's genuinely important that we capture ourselves and that we not
Absolutely.
tend to be more corporate than we are. And so I did. I sat Dave down. I was like, I know you're probably already cool with this. Like we'd known each other for years before we worked together here. It's like I know you're cool with this, but I'm gonna say it. This job will entail making jokes about poop and stuff, and it's gonna happen in the office.
So
And I signed up.
So how do you explain to like your family like, yeah, I make a living making jokes about poop?
Well,
I
that's
think
not
they're
the
probably
primary
used to it for me.
revenue stream. We make our living in other ways that are ancillary to poop jokes.
Oh, okay. I was about to say that's a pretty sweet gig. Instead, you're stuck doing game development.
We we do make our living creating images of dinosaurs vomiting, though. That's actually true.
That is pretty darn awesome. So
Our
actually,
families understand it, right? Danny, your parents are very supportive.
Oh
They
man,
totally
I've
get
worked
it.
for so many years with my parents not really understanding what I do. I think they get it. I don't know. Like for years I was working in movies doing post-production. So like licensed games and apps and Blu-rays. And for the first 2 or 3 years that I worked doing post-production, all the time my parents would be like, "So you made this movie?" And I'd be like, "Come on, Mom, you know I didn't make Avengers. You know I didn't make Avengers. How was I going to make Avengers?"
But I already told Mrs. Edelstein you made Avengers.
Then tell Miss Edelstein I made Avengers, but if anyone else asks, I didn't make Avengers. I am not the cast of the Avengers.
so you were not Chris Hemsworth or Chris Evans? I'm
both of them.
Oh,
You notice? Think back to your real life, day to day, without the magic of the silver screen. Have you ever seen Chris Hemsworth and Samuel L. Jackson in the same room at the same time?
not that I
I've
know
never
of.
seen Captain America and the Human Torch in the same room at the same time.
I have.
I've never seen Batman and Daredevil in the same room at the same time.
I hope to God I don't.
That means you're in trouble. You've done something wrong.
They're the same actor.
I know.
But
I know.
so, how often do you see Ben Affleck?
Like sometimes.
We get a quick coffee.
And actually, an interesting thing is, Jupiter actually brought up something very good. She said, "What was the biggest challenge making this game?" Although you can continue talking about poop if you'd like.
I can do both. I'll work them both in. Here, wait,
When
ready
it's
for
a
this?
poop, there's always a challenge.
Dave has trouble pooping. No, no more poop for like 30 seconds. We're gonna see if we can do it. It's gonna be a challenge.
I'll hold it.
I'm counting down.
Hold it. Hold your poop. So we'll see. Okay, biggest challenge. I was definitely intimidated by the fact that this has so many RPG-like elements. There's so many stats. Like I could show you kind of almost our spreadsheet of a class for balancing the basically I call it the adventure math. So for every enemy, they've got the health and the combo value and the experience and the um, HP and the HP modifier that the algorithm that scales it from room to room, and every weapon has a knockback value and a damage value and a recast refractory and a durability and a range and all this stuff. And like, there's a billion numbers that go into all of our various weapons and enemies. And making sure that not only that they all felt right at level one, but that they all scale in a meaningful way, such that leveling up matters and is beneficial, but also like the numbers can't go crazy. It's easy to get like a math equation just a little bit wrong and find out that like, yeah, I'm leveling faster than the enemies, and by the time I'm in room four, I just explode their face. And so that was a
But
little
do you
intimidating for
ever
me.
just want to keep it in so that you can continue to explode their face?
Oh yeah, there's definitely we've got some little mod, or rather I should say dev mods that let us just explode things. Million% damage machine guns and things. But Dave, what was the most challenging part for you?
Um, I would just say like the whole thing. I mean, every day is a challenge is not a negative word for me. It's just like a lot of work, but it's a lot of work doing something that you really love and care about, and you can't stop even if you want to.
Yeah.
But the biggest challenge for me, probably keeping up with Danny. To be honest, he's really fast paced and efficient, and he iterates and is very iterative, and he just churns out builds way faster than I can actually test them. So I have to try to keep in the back of my mind what was I testing 3 builds ago before he removed it and then brought it back.
I imagine it's hard too to decide what merits testing because, like you say, sometimes I'll roll a build with a feature that I don't claim is done. It's the rough scope of the idea. It's a concept, and then I'm going to refine it. And so, like, I imagine to some degree you have to decide what components are worth testing and which parts of reading my mind
And
are just
and how do you
placeholder.
determine if something is like complete crap? Like how or even out of scope? Because that's a big thing, especially when you're dealing with an RPG. Like, oh, it won't be that much work to have like a third item.
Yeah,
And then you figure out that it adds this entire huge complex thing, and I notice you guys don't have a third item. So,
we don't.
yeah, it's stuff like that. Like,
But we do with
how do you keep control of scope and which ideas are feasible versus which are just a pipe dream?
Well, this is what our regular arguments are for. Is that I typically take a very stoic, staid position of we mustn't change. Change is frightening, and Danny's always throwing new ideas. So like, if he sways me, and I go, well, I can't argue with that. Like that's just strictly better. Then that's one step further. But if he doesn't sway me, he's gonna ask me again, whether he remembers it or
Yeah.
not. So
I
it keeps bouncing off me every day, and then eventually I'm like, I can't argue with that. It's too good.
that's a big part where I'd say that more often than not that's where our disagreements come from is I'm never satisfied by what is, and moreover, I don't like citing my past decisions as cause. Like a lot of people, you hear what somebody smart says, and you think, I believe them, I believe in them, and I trust their decision. I'm going to stand by their decision. I don't feel that way about me in like a very positive way. Like I'm constantly reevaluating my past decisions, no matter how firm I'm a position I might once have taken. It's got to be
Which
infuriating if you're not me.
which ticks people off because it's like you're like, hey, that thing I fought so hard for and I convinced you for, I actually think it sucks now.
Right, well, and sometimes vice versa. I'll fight hard for something, and then I'll be like, I'll play it, and I'll be like, this sucks. I take it back, you win. And like, I'm really not shy about calling past me a liar or an idiot, and just like future me wins 100% of the time. Past me never gets to have a say in the argument.
Does
Yeah,
does
but you just
does
said that in the past, and whatever you say next trumps it. So,
So next time, maybe I'm all about legacy decisions.
yep.
does past you ever cry himself to sleep?
Past me has never done it yet, but once he listens to this and how bad I'm trash talking him, he might have.
That's
There's a lot
that's
of
very
conjugation
likely.
there.
A lot of conjugation there. Interesting thing that I'm noticing, the art style is it's very bright and cartoony,
Hmm.
and at the same time, it has if you think about it, you're depicting this dude who's been cursed with something life-threatening, fighting demons to the death until he can pay off a life debt. How do you depict that without getting into grimdark territory? And
That
it's
was actually really important to me from the start. Oh,
and
Dave, what's up?
one other thing, it's just
Yeah.
like a lot of people talk about ludonarrative dissonance, but as an independent developer, from just the way you make games,
Mhm.
not anybody else, but just the way you make games, is you think it's very possible to have a art style and a theme that belie the potentially dark material that's being addressed?
That was actually a really big part for me. Like, I'm a terrible artist, so I would never lay the slightest claim to the actual design of the characters. But as regards the overall design aesthetic, we did have in mind. And from the very beginning, it was, if you think about what's happening, I'm shooting bullets at these gangsters, and they're exploding into mucus and goop and gore. Later in the game, you're
And you're literally eating their hearts.
right. We're cutting the heads off wyverns and using them as flamethrowers. We're, vomiting enemies. Everything is exploding into blood or goop, leaving stains on the ground. And that's really what I wanted to hit is the most childish possible form of superviolence, such that you look at it and it's like you said, it really belies what it is. It's phrased up in a sentence, sounds real, real violent, really intense, but in practice, it looks more like a kid's cartoon.
Well,
And
that's
I,
the thing exactly. Is that we want games to be fun. I mean, fun for me, like everyone's different, right? But horror movies are not fun for me. Super gory movies, not fun for me. Super gory video games, like that are photorealistic, not for me. Like I have fun when something is funny and humorous looking.
I'm
So if you want to have a subject matter where there's exploding blood everywhere, if you make it cute, I can dig it.
I'm not
yeah.
sure. I'm not sure if you guys have families, but does that also affect the way you develop games? Like thinking, man, some kid's probably gonna play this.
Um, it doesn't. It doesn't. Like, I do have kids in mind, but at the same time, it's dumb. But like, my target demo is me, sort of,
Yeah.
sort of.
But it has to be. That's the right approach, I think, and
Like, you have
hopefully
to
other
love what
people
you're
will
doing.
like it. Yeah, we made
But
what we
at the
love.
same time, like, I don't have this as strong a position as Dave about like not liking violent things. I wouldn't say I seek them out, but I think there's a difference between like the source material genuinely calling for, an exploding head in a Schwarzenegger movie or something, where like that's the genre, that's the point, and that's what you're going for,
Wait,
and
Schwarzenegger
kind of,
movie is its own genre? I want to see these
oh
movies.
yes, I've seen all of them. I'm the
According
master of
to
the genre.
Danny, it is. He loves Schwarzenegger.
I do, but like sometimes that sort of thing is included because it can, and like the source material might not really call for it. It might, if you're throwing the F word around, or if you're, dropping language and violence bombs in something where it doesn't necessarily enrich the material, and I think sometimes it can, as often as not, or rather, maybe less often than it does, but sometimes it's just gratuitous, and even though we're fighting demons here, it just wasn't necessary. That and beyond that, I think Dave and I both are of our kind of natural default tone is
Goofy.
snarky and goofy, and so that's way easier for both of us to fall into tonally.
In fact, can you imagine if we tried to be like completely serious for the duration of an entire game? I don't think we could do it.
No, we will never make a game that is not ridiculous in some fashion. That doesn't make it doesn't make us
Have you ever
laugh.
been tempted to make the Christopher Nolan of Puuba games?
Um, do you mean just like super serial, grim and gritty?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant a game that's a cartoon violence version of his actual real life. Because I think we should make that.
It's the twistographist. You spend your life thinking of the most insane plot twists you can throw at viewers, and the more viewer heads you can explode, the more points you get, which you can use to upgrade your plot twist making ability.
It's called Head Popper Pro.
Until you can explode heads using the spoiler power of love. I'm not gonna say what movie it's for,
Power of love.
but yeah, love unites things.
Love, because if I can change and you can change. See, that wasn't Schwarzenegger. That was Stallone. I love action movies.
You just like big muscles.
I do love big muscles. That's why I'm so big and ripped.
And you're taking this opportunity to say this because none of us can actually see you.
I can see me. I don't like to go out unless it's in front of just a really big brazen mirror.
It's Gimme wants to know whose idea the tuba was.
Good old Puuba Tuba.
I think it was your idea.
Yeah, speaking of weapons,
But
like, how did you guys come up with the weapons? Because you guys have a Puuba tuba, but, I mean, you guys have a wyvern head as a flamethrower. Like, was there any weapon that was considered too outlandish?
no.
Yes, the suplex was too
Oh,
outlandish.
well, that didn't work for technical issues. It wasn't going to
Right.
be worth the dev time. But yeah, there was a weapon that was going to do like a classic Zangief spinning pile driver sort of attack. Mike Hagar pick up and drop him suplex. But in the end,
In practice, it
it
was
was
just
going
too
to.
stupid. It was
I
too-
like the effect on the idea was going to be that it's like the strongest attack and it one shots anything if you're even remotely adequately leveled. But like you'd really pick them up and jump and then land and you'd be unable to move for a little while. And I still think that idea was cool, but just the dev time of getting the animation for every creature, we'd need kind of a stunned, picked up, being pile driven state. And just it wouldn't be worth, I thought, the art and tech investment of having to individually do that for every creature. Like especially the multi-part creatures that are made of like heads and arms and tails and things. And then also for the boss, we couldn't really figure out how that was going to work without making them overly easy because you'd interrupt their attack so much.
It was untenable, but
Yeah.
hilarious to think of.
But no real weapon was too goofy. The original way we came about the weapons was we put together a spreadsheet of like fundamentally different attack patterns without necessarily attaching a weapon to it. So it would be like 3-hit combo weapon, big long thrust weapon, rapid fire projectile as fast as you can press, penetrating laser, things like that. And then like went through it to make sure no two things felt too similar, then went through it again to make sure no two things felt redundant, and kind of narrowed it until it felt like everything was genuinely unique and like merited inclusion. Some of those I did attach initial weapon ideas for, and for some reason the tuba was one of them. But a lot of them, like I wrote up the function, Dave went through and wrote up a bunch of options for like what kind of creature might be using it.
Yeah, I tried to shoehorn them into AD&D so hard, but like they wound up being 1920s gangsters. I couldn't stop.
Yeah. Sometimes you try to push the fantasy, and I'd be like, nope, this is going to be an outlier. This is going to be a squid from the future wearing 80s shades.
Nope, he's a lion and he's a lion tamer. Deal with it.
Yeah, I remember that. Can't he just be what did you suggest? You suggested like an Indiana Jones style adventurer.
I wanted him to be Bill Murray as the Whipmaster.
The whip, yeah, I that was going to be the next off my head. But I was like, nope, he's a lion tamer. Yeah, okay, fine.
And so it makes me wonder what the process is going to be for how like you name your children. It's gonna be like, okay, we need an outlier, we need a common name, something a little. Okay, this one we need a name that's a little bit off the wall.
But I would only ever come up with outliers. Dave, I feel like you don't usually try to rein me in creatively, but sometimes for this, your choices were often the more sane choices, I would say, or the
What,
more
for-
classically fantasy.
For the characters? Or
the
naming
enemies?
them?
I'd say for the enemies.
Oh, yeah, no, I am usually trying to rein you in from absurdity, and my character ideas were. See, I got that you wanted to have a dungeon full of non sequitur characters, and that was very important to Danny in this project. That we not have a consistent and therefore boring theme of like, well, I know exactly what this is. I know that I see a dark elf archer, therefore everything else is going to be a thief and a rogue and a wizard or whatever. Like, you wanted like randomness, like truly random. Like, I don't see this coming. It's a gesture on a pogo stick. Again, just deal with it. And so I was for that from the beginning. So I was trying to think of goofy ones too.
So speaking of enemies, what are your favorite ones? That's a question from the chat.
I love the Banshee. Banshee's my favorite.
Is that your favorite weapon or your favorite enemy?
Enemy.
Favorite enemy.
Okay. Favorite enemy, I'm thinking about it. I really like how the last boss of the game plays out, but I'm going to pick a common enemy because I know Dave won't want me to talk about that boss. He still considers it secret.
Yeah, silly me. I just not wanting to spoil the end of the game.
I like the pogo stick guys. I think they're really fun to look at. In part because I think the weapon is really unique and fun. I did not think the weapon was going to work out, but in the end, we like changed it completely twice and really made it work.
Bombs,
Stick
I also
bomb.
like
handling is
the
pretty cool.
players a lot.
You can wield just like throw bombs, chuck bombs like little rocks. This is balanced. This is a balanced game right here.
Yeah, indeed.
And
We did it.
Shazam!
and actually, interesting thing about oh yeah, but they said yeah, bosses don't count. But that's an interesting thing when you're designing a boss. What's the line between just as with powerful and too overpowered? What's the line between what's the line between frustrating good and frustrating bad? Like this is an interesting challenge to this sucks.
Right. Well, first thing is, I think it's important that you not be over penalized when you die. Like, death should matter, but like, one thing that I've had to like refrain to myself for the last couple of years since we've been making our own games is games are supposed to be fun. Some people have fun through challenge, some people have fun through exploration, some people have fun through success, but like the end goal shouldn't be like the Schadenfreude of taking pleasure from torturing your player. The end goal is to make them have fun. And so like
What if I want? What if it makes me have fun to have the Schadenfreude of torturing my player?
well, then you should
Well,
make
you're the
games.
player though. You're the player in that situation. So if you wanna have a game that punishes you constantly, then uh, you have to give people a little bit of power. Like otherwise they'll get really frustrated. But if you give them invincibility throughout, they will also get bored. So the challenge is important to keep up as well. So the bosses have to be kind of hard, but not too hard.
All right. Okay. That's really. Did he really just say Schadenfreude?
I did say it, but also right now I'm going to say Bugenhagen to to like counteract that. And we all know Bugenhagen is Red 13's uncle from Final Fantasy VII. It just sounds like a fancy word.
And I'm going to say Sid, also from Final Fantasy. Chocobo.
Hmm. Kokobo.
Kokobo.
No,
Is
he
it?
calls it a chocobo, and I can't make him stop
I
doing
know
it.
I'm wrong, but I'm never ever going to change. So I don't know why, but like my first Final Fantasy I played when I was, in grade school, and for whatever reason, my friend Matt and I, who have played every Final Fantasy still today with, we agreed, and there was never even a discussion. It was Kokobo, not Chocobo. And I know there's a CH, and it wasn't until like number 10 where they voice acted the word Chocobo. And we both just out loud, because I've literally played every Final Fantasy with him, we both said out loud, "What? Oh, that makes sense. Nope." And like went without saying. We were never going to change our pronunciation.
So Kokobo, have you ever been like in some hardcore arguments or?
Yes, I get called out a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking that's like something to draw you to blows.
Yeah, I get called out, but I won't change. No, they're Kokobos.
I wish they were
Kokobos.
chocobos instead of chocobo, but
I, I
as you say, the voice acting like
I
made it clear.
I wish they were Chocobros. That's my personal.
Chocobos.
That was my
Would
personal
you
preference.
would you ever have any interest in spectating the Kokobo rodeo?
The Kokobo Rodeo.
Chocobo.
Here we go, Kokobo rodeo.
The Chocobo. See, you were infecting me. Now I'm using it the same way you are.
Yeah, you are,
Uh,
because it's the right way.
okay,
You're
okay.
welcome.
If everyone can have their own pronunciation, I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it a Puuba Bro. A Puuba Bro. It's a.
It's funny, 'cause as big a jerk as I'm being, like right now, with my refusal to say the word right, a good friend of mine, another friend, always used to pronounce it cockaboo, and that I would not ever let slide. Cockaboo is
Well,
wrong.
that's jacked up. That's not even any of the same letters, really.
Well,
Yeah,
it's some of the same letters. Like there could be a C in there somewhere. Over the rainbow, way up high.
that's too high.
Too high. So, yeah, Chocobros.
For life.
Speaking of references, you referenced some interesting things for concursion. Now that you have like lion tamers, and all this other different stuff, what references, if any, to some of your favorite media did you drop, or in games and movies and stuff, did you drop throughout the game? And were any of those rejected? Are there any really cool ones that people might not catch? Like, do you have like a
Yeah.
Do you have like a character called the J.J. Abrams, and like there's just lens flares everywhere, and you can't see what you're doing?
Beware the J-Rooms. We have a handful. I don't know. It's not a ton. Concursion was so reference heavy that I think we tried to pull it back a little bit on this one. Like Concursion was just a game of reference and homage. I'm trying to think. We have an achievement called like for picking up 100,000 goop. It's in my raccoon wounds, which I guess is a Family Guy reference. We've got like I'm just going through them now. Our leader getting a good leaderboard time. There's World Warrior, which is obviously a Street Fighter reference. Um, we've got NBA Jam references and Smash Bros references that I'm seeing here. Killer Instinct.
Oh,
And what is this one? NES Pro Wrestling.
those are all in Weaponographist, or was that Concursion?
That's just me reading through the achievements of Weaponographist. Those are all in the achievements for Weaponographist. We do have a few concursion references in the Weaponographist.
Does it ever feel like wrong? Does it like ever feel too meta to refer to? Does it
To
ever
our,
feel too meta to refer to your own game?
uh,
The
we're
game
pretty
itself
delicate.
referring back to itself or to another one of our games?
To
Yeah,
our past.
all sorts of stuff.
I think we should do that. I think we should have a lot of Easter eggs in the game that are about that same game.
We should. Well, so I can think of two references to concursion in the Weaponographist.
What's the less
Dave,
obvious one?
the less obvious one. Well, we've got it in dialogue, and then we've just got a character that
Oh, that's
returns.
right. Oh, God, that's funny. I forgot about that. Okay, so go ahead.
I'll spoil it because otherwise it's not interesting if we're
Yeah, it's
just
totally
referencing
funny.
our own conversation. Well, so the goblin barrel enemies, the bomb barrel enemies in the Weaponographist, it, so they're hiding in their barrel and they'll take peeks out of it, and then when they attack you, they'll hop out and you can see them in their entirety. But if you take a look and compare that verse to Concursion, those are actually the gubs from Weaponographist. What I would say is our most hated and aggressive enemy. In Concursion, in the platformer genre, we had these enemies that were like spiked Viking helmets. We called gubs. And if you try to jump on them, which is of course as a platformer how you kill anything, they would panic, freak out, run out from underneath you, and throw their spiked helmet onto the ground beneath you. Which means, of course, that you land on the spiked helmet and hurt yourself the first time you try to jump on them.
That
And
is
people,
evil.
yeah, it was the first time it happened to anyone. I think everyone's response was profanity. But so I think we both, Dave and I, really wanted to bring them back, especially because so much thought went into, especially on Dave's part, like their history and their backstory. And so
Wait,
if you look
so
at the,
so there's a history and a backstory. Like the
yeah,
lion tamer, he has like identity issues.
well, there's for the Gubs. I don't think that we went as deep with enemy backgrounds in this game as we did for our previous game, but Gubs have a rich and storied history.
Like their entire civilization, like their how they forge their helmets.
Yeah, yeah. Dave, did you write a 3-page bio for Gubs?
Yeah, but there's more up in the old noggin. If you got gub questions, just shoot them my way.
So that's probably our most obvious concursion reference in the Weaponographist.
What
Um,
what is a Gub's favorite food?
That's never been addressed, actually. I'm not sure that anyone in Concursion actually eats, except for, what are those little bee guys called? I forgot their names.
I think we ended up just calling bouncing drifters. I think that's one of the very
Right.
few we didn't name.
The bouncing drifter eats the honeysuckles in the Honey Bluff Kingdom, and that's where honeys come from.
That's right. Their story right up
Are
included a full description of
are the honeysuckles sentient?
They eat
they,
huggleberries, to
they eat
be more
huckleberries from
specific,
Huckleberry Fields. That's right. You
and
wrote
they are
this
not
rich
sentient.
history
No.
where the one mob history interties with another mob from another universe history, and like also super relates to the background we used in the level where they first appear.
How much like dev time did were you like, okay, I know I need to test this, but I'm writing what the Choco Bros backstory is for the game so we don't get sued because it's different. It's unique, okay? Roger, he wanted to be a ballerina, but his parents wouldn't let him, so now he's just a Choco Bro.
There's a lot of that.
Um,
Yep.
I fought really, really hard to get one day to write 8,000 words of histories of characters, and that actually wound up in the game. I was like, please just let me do it. I'll do it. It'll take a day. I'll do it. And I woke up at 9 in the morning, 8 in the morning that day, and I was writing nonstop and like sweating profusely until 10 at night. I got it all done. I was like, all right, now we have stories. and that actually made it into Concursion's galleries.
Yep.
So
So
I
Yeah,
was glad we did
lives.
that, but we did not do that for this game. We actually wrote a whole lot of dialogue for this game that was jokey, but also somewhat expository, that you could completely skip if you're not interested, because Danny does not like story to get in the way of a good time.
oh my gosh,
That's
are
right.
you one of those gamers that doesn't do the tutorial?
No, actually, well, I don't like when the tutorial is too blatantly a tutorial, but I do think that they're important. So, like, Concursion was really complicated. There's 5 games in one, and that could be a lot to tutorialize. And I wanted to lean really hard on keeping the genre simple and relying on people's knowledge of the kind of classic conventions. But in the end, like,
So especially when you're doing a game that relies on classic conventions, and there's less of that here with the Weaponographist, which might make it more accessible as well. But yeah, when you're dealing with something that relies on gaming conventions, is it hard to remain accessible? And how do you determine between too accessible and not accessible enough?
You have to show it to people who have no idea what the game is and watch how long it takes them to figure it out, and then answer their direct questions, like in building a tutorial.
yeah. For this one, I like what we landed on. It's kind of a tutorial, 2 parts of a tutorial. We did the completely vital stuff up front. When you enter town, you're going to get an interactive tutorial for the Weaponographist, but it doesn't explain anything to do with experience or combo. And I just felt like the player doesn't need to know that right away. You know, they're going to do as well as they do, and they're going to try their best. And like by virtue of trying their best, they're going to do most of what's needed.
And they're gonna
But
pick it up.
right, and then when you die, the second time you come back to town, you're going to get a bit more dialogue that kind of explains what past tense just happened.
Oh, that's interesting.
Actually, I'm gonna say as a fan of Danny, which I'm actually just like from a distance, I'm a fan of Danny's work.
I love you too, Dave.
I love
You,
what he did with the tutorial for
you,
Weaponographist. I
you
think
are
it's
one
actually a
floor
perfect
away.
tutorial.
You are one floor away. So from afar, from one floor away, you are a huge fan.
Yeah.
I
So
can feel the wind blowing now.
See, if you keep your distance like I do, they don't suspect that you're stalking them.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I show up every day and say, "You're not pretty." He's like, "I want your attention," but secretly, I like to look at him.
I am so pretty.
So, especially when you're working together, has there ever been a thing where you guys were like, okay, this is like, has there ever been like even a moral thing where you're just like, okay, we are not putting a zombie stripper using a pole as an axe in this game?
Um, I don't think either of us have a drive to do things that are really bad like that. Be honest, Dave. I don't know. Is there? I imagine it's way more likely you'd have to rein me in than I'd have to rein you in.
I
Did I?
have
What?
I have way more morals than I should for someone who isn't moral generally, and also more than Annie does. Um, I just have more foibles and like hang-ups and stuff. So, whenever we're talking through stuff, I say, "Oh, we shouldn't do that because it's too, I don't know, gory or that's too sexual or whatever." But in the end, it's nothing really ever is. We're pretty much on the same page as to what we think is fun and what we think is, what we want to put our name on. So we don't actually like. There's no moral qualms with the product, and there weren't sacrifices made for morality.
Yeah.
And that's cool that you guys were on the same page, as far as that goes. And so you said about it being too sexual. Was Danny trying to put himself into the game? Was it
No,
like was it like a hot coffee version of the Weaponographist or something?
no, it was just in the character design stage. We asked Mike Shanks, the art director, to give us a few takes on every character, and pretty much down the line, Danny would always kind of lean towards like uh, the female characters that were like a bit thinner, and I wanted the ones that were more zoftig and I suppose bustier for some reason.
Mhm.
But we talked about like I don't know in the design phase, like it was more important that every character, be they male or female or whatever, that they all have an inherent like intrinsic dignity that comes across on the screen, and then there's nobody like the archer is dressed in the way that she chooses to dress for form and function and also personality, but she's not dressed like sexually, which is like it's a drow sort of I don't know tradition that sometimes they're dressed too risque or that their figures are ridiculous. So we made sure that I thought that we made sure that every character had dignity.
Yeah,
That
that example, the archer, is actually, I think, one of the probably the only example of one where the original design had less clothes on, in fact, and we asked to combine two different alternate designs to, add more clothes, basically. Hey, can we have the wardrobe from this, but the body and the face from the other?
That's a really interesting aspect of development. So, as far as gameplay mechanics go, and Doug McGrave, how did you decide upon this character? Like, I don't know if we really delved into the original history of how did you get that original idea for the Weaponographist, so I guess that would be a good place to start. So, did it start with the
Um,
character of Doug McGrave?
no, not at
Where
all.
did the
It started
odyssey
with Be
of the
Frantic
Weaponographist
and Don't Slow Down.
Right.
be
So
frantic, don't
there's
slow
there
down?
was three main giant revisions to the creative conceit of how to make this work.
Oh, and
Uh,
one quick thing. Someone's asking, will there be zombie stripper DLC?
there will, but it's actually not what you think. You have to strip for the zombies, or they eat you. You are forced to strip for zombies. That's kind of worse. I don't like that at all. Can I not say that?
Wait, okay. I, I want to hear the answer to this too, but super quick side departure. It's kind of like a meta thing that we could do is have a DLC that is just you buy it and then you have to do something like in real life, like physically.
We pretend that we
And
can
we sell it,
do
in
like
sort
time
of
delayed
potato
feedback. You're
salad
doing great.
Kickstarter kind of way, where it's the whole thing is a joke. But if you pay us $1, you get to do this uncomfortable, annoying thing that we can't even see, and we'll gladly take your money. I don't know. Internet, do it.
Done.
Sorry. Danny, answer that question. I know you don't remember it.
No, I do.
Okay, cool.
How do we get to this creatively? Yeah, we had kind of three major complete overhauls in the oeuvre of the game. So first off, it was, like Dave said, we were trying to capture just the full constant forward motion, constant attack. And we were calling it Football Helmet Jones very briefly for like half of an afternoon. Football Helmet Jones was going to be just a local guy who happened to wear a football helmet at all times. And basically couldn't slow down. He would just charge through things head down and bull rush everything as enemies just exploded from around him. And there'd be aliens and there'd be demons and it was going to be just a complete mismatch of nonsense. And the bottom line was going to be Football Helmet Jones's town had been invaded by creatures, by monsters, and it was up to him to save the day.
So,
The
what made you go like, no, not that one?
It was a little too simple for me, even though originally when we were designing, we wanted to do something simpler than concursion. Like Dave said, I just need a lot of things going on to keep my interest. And so we started talking about how to introduce like an adaptation mechanic where you'd be constantly forced to change between weapons. And then our first form of that, building on the back of Football Helmet Jones, was kind of a game where we talked about possessing all the enemies. And it was going to be like, all right, there's goblins with bombs and there's lion tamers with whips, and we didn't specifically have these enemies in mind yet. But there's a whole bunch of different enemies with different types of weapons. And the idea was going to be almost like Pokemon in a sense. You beat them up until they're weak enough, and once they're weak enough, you can possess them. And it was going to have this, I thought, really interesting mechanic whereby like that means your health is constantly fluxing. Like if you can possess someone when they've got more health remaining, you're going to have more health because you are now them once you possess them. But if you have to beat them up more to take over their body, maybe because their power is better, then you're going to have less health, and that you put yourself at risk. And I really like a lot about that concept, but it was too complicated, I feel like, for real time, and I wanted, again, to keep that really real-time fast action, because we had the system where, like I said, well, can I possess them? Only if their health is low enough, but, how do we represent that? And is it number-based? We had a willpower stat, and the willpower had to be greater than the remaining hit points, and it was really numbery and mathy, and it felt like, from the standpoint of explaining to the player what's going on and how to play, it just didn't feel right. It felt overcomplicated. And so from that, we tried to simplify out what we thought were the fun components, the best parts of that idea. And landed on this.
Nice, nice. So, Doug McGrave, how did you come up with are there actual plans for real DLC, one person said? And are there any porting plans in the future? They said they don't know if they will work on mobile, but console will be a blast. And I can definitely see this on a console. Like, I can see the Weaponographist on PlayStation alongside Bloodborne. Just like,
Yeah.
if you need a break from Yarn, what is it? It's not, it's Yarnum. If you need a break from Yarnum, if you need a break from Paul McCartney's music video in Destiny, you've got the Weaponographist right there.
Indeed.
I like what we're saying. Let's do that. Let's do what he said.
Yes, indeed. Dave's being coy. I'm going to be more straightforward. Um, we are not yet ready to announce what the content will be, but we are going to have a DLC coming in a handful of weeks that introduces, upon completion of the normal main game, an entirely new way to play, and introduces some new complications for all the existing modes as well.
Whoosh!
Yeah. Porting. I would love
So
to.
wait, what was that noise? I need to know.
That was an excited horsey.
Okay.
No, that was awesome.
I don't know what that was either, but I thought it was appropriate to greet such an. She said, "Oh, that sounds awesome." I can't decide if it's whether it's about the DLC or about what the noise I just made. I just thought such an announcement needed an appropriate response.
Porting, I would love to do. Yeah, I mean, I am a huge console gamer. I play my PlayStation a ton, my PS4. I would love to get on PSN. For me, that would be huge. I am the only programmer on the project, so it was important to me that we first, just get out somewhere and get the game in people's hands and get people playing it. But with the release day having been today, that is definitely on my list. It's too early for me to give a really solid yay or nay. I mean, a solid yay or nay. But I really want to, and the start of my investigating that was this morning.
Start of your investigating that was this morning. So
honest answers are not exciting.
speaking of honest answers, when you're getting the feedback about your title, how is it compared to Concursion? Because I know Concursion had some good responses, although there were some niggles people had, and it was super difficult. So how did you guys implement that into the next game, even though it's unrelated? And how are you guys feeling with the feedback that you guys are getting now? Because from what I'm seeing in the chat, people are really enjoying it. And they thought my noise was not as interesting as your plans, so there's that too.
Yeah.
Your noise was super interesting. I actually loved it.
Yeah,
But you can never tell what I like because I have kind of a deadpan delivery. I like your noise.
All right, beep, bop, boop, boop, noise. Feedback's been really good. At the conventions, we had people come back and play the game, 5 and 10 and 15 times, which is like, at a convention, I think that's fantastic because time is so precious at a show. Everybody's there either as a dev showing their own thing or as, press to, cover as many games as they can, or, most often as a player. And, there's so many good games to play. There's so much good content that, like, if you're spending that much time at one booth, that's like the most honest feedback you can give. That's really good. Like, time is so precious.
Do you notice that people react differently to how they give you feedback, like when they see you in person and how they express it on Twitter, or on any other place? Because it can be like, these dudes suck, but in real life, I hear that it's not so blatant. A lot of people are pretty darn nice.
I was in a stream last night where somebody was bashing the game, like being a kind of a troll, and they weren't saying anything constructive. They were just saying, "I hate this," and then the actual streamer stopped what he was doing. It was 300 people watching. The streamer stopped what he was doing. He's like, "Okay, why do you hate it?" And he goes, "It sucks. It just sucks." And then the streamer, I don't know why I'm saying the streamer, iCasper, he's been very cool streaming us a lot. He said, "Well, the devs are in the chat. Like, it would be nice if you were polite. And if you actually hate what you see, tell him why. Give him constructive feedback." The guy apologized to me profusely, and then he said, "Actually, I changed my mind. I really like it. Don't be mad at me. I'm actually going to buy it." And I was like, "Dude, I don't know what's
really
so weird."
It's almost like he thought you were like Liam Neeson, and and you were like, "I will find where you
I
are,
have a very particular set of skills. I will find you.
and I will force you
take
to
a
bug
nap
test
and
my
bite
game."
bugs.
But I mean, yeah, it does weight it, and if the developer's standing right there, or if they're in a stream with you while you're watching it, maybe people are more nice, more positive than they would be otherwise. But
So people seeing
what we saw
so
at
people
PAX is
oh, I'm sorry, but people seeing the humanity behind the game really matters.
Oh,
it
I think
does,
so.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what we got to experience really genuinely at PAX is like moments where people didn't really see that we were there. They were just running up because there was a line. They're like, "I want to play this," and then they would
Whatever
play
that
it and like love it. And we'd say, "Do you have any questions?" They'd be like, "Leave me alone. I'm playing this awesome game."
Yeah, yeah. So, favorite piece of feedback you've received, and how have you taken it and approached it, used it?
is. Dave, you've been offered a lot of butt touches.
Yeah.
Is that feedback?
Nope. I guess
It is directly
it's
related.
horrible feedback. We actually implemented a whole lot of early feedback that we got and convention stuff. Um, Danny, can you think of one like major element that we added because somebody asked for it? I'm kind of drawing a blank, but I know there were tons.
Something that we changed based on player feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way a few of the weapons worked. Totally pogo stick. We completely chucked out the window and rebuilt based on player feedback. We added a new type of leaderboard based completely on leaderboard. Um, we added that injury effect based totally on somebody playing on YouTube. Um,
That's absolutely what I was thinking of. Yeah, people were saying they couldn't tell what was happening when they got hit, and we actually like, you know, not the absolute last minute, but very very late in the game, we implemented the screen flashing red, and I love that effect. I actually really like it.
So, you know, can we now, since your screen flash is red, we can now rightly compare you to the weapon to the Call of Duty. You guys are Call of Duty
yeah,
killer.
we're basically the same game. I don't see how they're going to put out a Call of Duty next year with us already, staking our ground.
Don't take that off.
Oh my gosh, you hear it in the background, don't you? Dear Lord,
No.
the birthday party's begun.
So I'm going to say, for the sake of everybody in chat then, just so everyone knows, there's a birthday party happening at Nelson's place, and you are all now virtually invited. You're all there.
You are there. If you can find me, you are rightly invited to this birthday party. Because I want to see your face, because I'm now scared of you, and I want to know who to watch out for.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are the first ever Minecraft COD Fusion game. Interesting thing was when you were getting closer to release. Woot, happy birthday. It's not my birthday. It's a birthday member of a family member, but I'll definitely pass that on. Thank you so much, Jupiter. One interesting thing, was there a feature that you cut out near to release because you're like, okay, it just won't fit? Possibly for a DLC that you can disclose.
Is there a feature that we cut out? Yeah, there was actually. I'm looking at it right now on our giant whiteboard. One wall of our office is painted with whiteboard paint, and we just draw all over the wall. We were looking at for a while doing kind of like a challenge room thing where like the journalist Bard was going to tell stories about your greatest adventures from the past, and like you were going to get to relive them. And the way it was going to operate is like isolated small 30 and 60 and 90-second challenges. Stuff like, can you survive in a room with 10 archers, and not take a hit with no weapons? Can you shatter all of these targets with your Morning Star in 30 seconds? Kind of like weird uses, interesting, innovative uses of the weapons. And as a reward, you're going to get to unlock sort of like game modifiers and cheats, if you will, cheats that would affect all of the rest of the game,
Including big head mode, of course.
Right. Yep. Big head mode. The full DK mode actually.
What is it? I feel so terrible for asking. What is DK mode?
Donkey Kong mode. NBA Jam's take on big head mode. It was the big head, the big hands, the big feet.
Oh, awesome. So, please continue.
Yeah, I just in the end, I honestly didn't think that it was quite rich enough for my taste as a feature. It felt like it was, obvious. It felt like a good fit on paper, but in practice, none of the challenges really compelled me enough from a gameplay standpoint. It was one of those like it makes sense academically, but I wasn't compelled artistically, and so I started even putting it together. And before it was even done being built, I think I spent maybe like 2/3 of a day on it only, and it was just like, I don't like it. It feels like filler. It doesn't make the game richer, only on paper. In practice, I don't think that it's going to be anyone's favorite bit, and so we pulled that out. And if you want me to be, Dave will punch me for being this specific, but the DLC forthcoming has some relationships to those content that died.
That's really cool. And,
in a much better, more fun
I'm
form.
waiting. I'm actually hearing Dave rustling. He's coming up there, man. You're gonna want
He
to watch
is.
out.
He probably took off his mic and he's coming to slap me.
No,
No, I was
that was-
sufficiently vague though, right, Dave?
That was not specific at all. It's
Yeah.
totally fine.
Some
Interesting.
of those ideas are cannibalized.
Interesting thing. As far as artists, we talked about this. I talked about this with you on Beta Wave Radio, but bringing it here, when you're adding members to the team, when you've got someone like Dave, when you've got someone like Chris, and all these different people you're adding to the team, how do you decide whether they're a good addition? And is there a way to, even if you find out that someone's not a good fit, to break up, break up, to end the relationship cordially without it being on bad terms?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. You take a chance. You do whatever background you can on a person. You talk to them. You ask for their past work. You ideally, see some of what they've made before and what their interests are. If it comes to art or something like that, you maybe ask for a quick sample. Most artists are willing to, you shouldn't be asking people to give you so much that it's something useful you might use. But, a sketch, a quick idea, something like that, it's kind of how you handshake with the team, I think. Likewise, if somebody wanted me to program as part of their team, I would fully expect them to want to, see my work or see how I might put together something of theirs. I think, I would owe them that. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't always work out. I'll be specific. I didn't think that everything worked out with 100% of the team from Concursion. And so we've got, a lot of the same people back, and some of them aren't back. For this game in particular, we had some sticky points based on timeline. And, some people weren't delivering in a manner that we hoped they would, quite as fast as we hoped they would. And so we ended up having to augment the team. And we kind of shuffled some work off some people's plates and onto other new people's plates, just to, make sure that we caught up and got everything the way we needed to. So I think there are, delicate. It's important to still remember that these people, want to work and do their best. But at the same time, if it doesn't work out, I think there's options.
Yeah. Any perspective there, Dave? You're a little bit quiet back there.
No, I was actually just watching the menu loop because I was remembering the part when Danny was putting this video together, and I said, "Put it on the loop of the menu for a while," and he goes, "No one's gonna want to see that."
And yet they are. You brilliant genius. And it's really cool how it
on the
looks.
matter covered everything.
It's really cool how it has a lot of life, even though the only things that are really moving are the little cursor, some sparkles around the cursor, and the fireflies. That's it. And that feels like it gives it a lot of life.
Yeah, those were cool touches put in by Joseph Rintoul, to name drop, the guy that designed our blown up character busts, like the dialogue art for the characters, and the logo itself. Also designed our main menu and the UI. So that was you were just basking in the glow of Joseph Rintoul. Actually, as I'm still talking about him and we're watching the cutscene, he did all of the art for this as well.
Wow, nice. Wow, that was a great flash of the you guys had originally a partnership with Zack Snyder, and that was a flash of what the game could have been.
Yeah. We originally conceived this as a 303. Didn't he do 300, the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with Weaponographist, I love Doug's fanboy. He's so cute. That's actually Dave's avatar, Skype avatar, and actually on Twitter as well. So, Dave, do you look like Bartholomew Bard Cakes? Bardstrom? Bard Dude? Bard Boy. Bardabo.
I have to ask this just because I care about people. Are you okay?
I've had a total of about 3 hours of sleep in the last 2 days, so I'm totally fine. I would not be in game development if I did not love sleep deprivation.
Yeah, I know. I feel you on that. I haven't slept in probably 2 weeks. I'm totally gonna sleep tonight. I say every day.
And then there's just like a meme. Then there's like a cat photo. Then there's just something.
My Twitch avatar, sorry, my Twitter avatar used to be Dark Lord Big and Bad from our first game, and it became time to change my Twitter avatar, and I never use my own face for things if I can help it. I don't know why it is. It's a habit, actually. I've been dodging pictures for like 20 years. I just don't like being in them. and it becomes harder and harder to not be in pictures as the world becomes more Instagram focused. But I
And as you
managed
work
to.
on products you're trying to promote.
Right. Well, that's exactly it. For me, like it's about the product, it's not about me personally. And I understand this world is not like that anymore. You have to absolutely market yourself along with any products. That's what people attach to. But at the same time, I want to exist apart from the art that we create. I want the art to be the showpiece, the centerpiece. So, my Twitter avatar was Dark Lord Big and Bad, and then I had to change it to something for Weaponographist. It didn't seem right to be Doug because if anything, Danny would be the Doug. So who would I be?
God.
Probably Bard. So to
I think
answer
you'd make a really
Jupiter's
nice Gretel.
question, Danny is my Doug.
Danny is your Doug.
Oh,
So
you're my Doug.
to supersede, to take Danny's place, what would a person have to do?
To take his place at Puuba?
No, just to take his place in your
In your
heart.
heart.
Oh, I don't know. Like recruit me for a totally different project and then be better than Danny somehow. So I
It
don't
was all
know.
about business.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean they for me to blindly follow someone based upon their excellence, they'd have to be at bare minimum more excellent than Danny, which
That's
I don't really see happening.
that is so nice. It's sickening.
Love you.
You guys are awesome. And so we've had you on for about an hour and a half. We discussed everything from your plans to how the Weaponographist was created to all of the really deep into how um, how you did this stuff.
Magic.
And magic, supreme magic. You guys did a really great job. So I guess the next question is, after Weaponographist, what's next? Because people really like it, and it seems like you'll be able to continue.
I don't know about Dave, but I was thinking about getting into like the scarves that tie together that magicians pull out of their sleeve. I figure someone's got to make those, right? They must come from somewhere. So I was thinking that could be me.
Yeah. No,
Is that
I'm
not a straight answer?
I'm down for it. Whatever Danny does, I'll be there. Let's make scarves.
Um, no, real answer. I don't know. I speak for me, but probably both of us. I'd love to make more games. In part, it's based on how well received this game is. If people like it, if they enjoy it, then there will be more games. If people don't, then at some point, I need to make money to put food in my mouth.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, we're gonna have that conversation probably really soon. It
yes,
turns
indeed.
we will find out. Stay tuned, kids, because today is the day that we find out if our game is
If
good.
we're still a studio.
Yeah, I hope people are buying it today.
That's not a stressful answer, right? Today's the day we find out if we still exist.
Yep.
Today is the day of reckoning, and I hope you guys do super well because not only you guys like really awesome people to talk to, but you love your players and you love what you do, and I think that should be. I think in anything, good work should be rewarded. So I wish you the best of luck. I know everybody in the chat does. We've already got some copies out to people. People are literally buying copies for their friends.
Sweet.
And so I just want to thank you for appearing, and for what you've done. I can't wait to play your Magic Scarf Simulator. And any last words? Because of course we can't have if we have you on GamesMatter more than once, we have to take your lives.
Oh no, but you have to take my life. This is my second Games Matter. Oh
Yeah,
no.
it's now.
You have
I just want to thank you to the big shout out to the Earth for having me.
The sun
It's
for giving
been-
us all that warmth.
It's you know what? I'm ready. We did this thing, and I'm really tired, so
I
I'm
knew
ready.
this day would come.
Let's do it. Let's find out what happens next.
No, just thanks for having us on, man. I love hanging out. Super fun. Thanks everybody chat. Who asked us questions. If anybody knows anyone who likes video games, please spread the word. Without sounding desperate or with sounding desperate, this is what we've been up to for the last year. So we'd love to keep doing it, but it depends on people spreading the word.
Bambi's mother will die unless you buy the game right now.
Nelson's gonna kill Bambi's mother if you don't spread the game.
That was me. That was genuinely me.
Mm.
I hated doing it, but it was like it was between Danny and Dave and Bambi, and I picked Danny and Dave, and I never regretted it.
You monster.
I
You did
am
you
a
did it right
monster
there.
for love. This has been Games Matter with Nelson, Danny, and Dave. Thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. Buy the Weaponographist, and support the developers. Follow them on Twitter. Basically, there's a lot of ways to support a developer aside from buying a game. Even something as simple as saying, hey, we like what you do. That matters. You guys matter, and games matter. Without further ado, this has been Nelson. Bye, guys.
Bye.